Sweet, we're live. Welcome, guys. Kanji here from Presence, and we've got our awesome friend here, Ivan. Man, Ivan's doing some amazing things. For those that are tuning in, it's currently 8 p.m. here in Melbourne, and yeah, it's obviously Ivan's just finished his day. He's got a bunch of meetings and all that, and I feel like with anyone that's in the space of entrepreneurship and business, you always find that you're working hours that you don't want to work, but you have to put it in because you want to be able to get to a place with the business where you're providing a lot of value to other people. But firstly, Ivan, you're doing some amazing things, man. I know we connected a while back in PixelBoss. We jumped on a podcast. That's how I first met you with Daniel and Scott. And yeah, from there, it's just been an awesome relationship. Got to know more about you, plug into the membership as well with, helping set up the event too last year. And yeah, here we are, man. But firstly, bro, I would love to maybe get you to share with the audience, like, tell us a bit about yourself, maybe a bit of background about, your roots and everything, and we'll go from there, man.
Yeah, for sure. So someone was just calling and interrupting, but I'll just turn that off.
Turn it off.
Mate, listen, firstly, thank you for the invite. And, this is not something I normally do, but being you, I said yes. But look, ultimately, just a high level update on what I've been up to on the PixelBoss front. It's kind of been a 3-year journey. And it started off very much in and around blockchain, Web3, and going into the weeds with how we run a DAO and how we look at listing a meme coin and all the things that were exciting about the space. And I think that the future of what happens with online will have a huge impact with what Web3 does. But we've kind of dialed down that almost to 100%. In terms of how we communicate with our community and with the brands that we're working with, because I kind of realized about a year ago that we don't go buy a house and ask the builder how they built it. We don't go buy the latest car and find out how they made it. We don't buy the latest technology and do that as well. And what I found that we spent probably 6% of our time explaining what an NFT was to someone. And you walk out from the meeting and they've got a headache and they're not interested.
Yeah.
And so as we started to develop SWiiFT, which is our product that we'll talk about, I'm sure, throughout this chat, when we deploy a collectible, which is NFT, we can build it, put it on a smart contract off-chain, so everyday people can interact with that asset however they wish. And in the future, when they're ready, if they're ready, they can put it on chain. So we're future ready, but we're not really looking at how we now try to educate people. I don't think that's our job to do, if that makes sense. So fundamentally, I don't think that the first years were wasted. It really helped us really firm up how we build and scale, because the biggest buzz when we were in the weeds of Web3 was mass adoption. And the truth is, it's never going to come to those that are beating the drum of what was happening 3 years ago. It will come through a different gate, or that we'll build new doors, we'll build new avenues, and we'll allow people to interact without that friction. And I think that's kind of what I'm most proud about, that we're achieving and the road we're on anyway.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, like you said something beautiful there, man. It's more like
well, I can't hear you at all for some reason.
Can't hear me? Can you hear me? No. How about now?
You're on mute.
I was on mute. Now I'm not. Let me see. Unmute. All right. Let me try to change my audio, bro. 1 second. How about now?
You're back.
Yeah, we're back. Okay. So the thing is, when I mute myself, I end up like just cutting everything off. So we won't do that again.
Yeah, don't mute yourself. It's fine.
Yeah. All good. Yeah, I was just gonna touch on it because, like, the whole thing with like Web3, right? Like, obviously, mass adoption was the main thing. Like, maybe I'd like to get a few like opinions or maybe some viewpoints from your perspective, from your side, man. Like, where do you feel like it's gonna come Like when you feel like people are going to be like, okay, Web3, NFTs, the crypto, when is that all going to happen again? Do you feel like we still are in that stage where people are still skeptical? Like, what's your perspective, man? I'd love to hear.
Yeah, so I don't dabble in blockchain in coins. Like, I don't think that it's not for me. So I did buy crypto, and I bought meme coins. I bought Ethereum. I bought blockchain, and it's just governed by a few bad actors that have a lot of money, and that's why people keep referring to the bull run, and then there's the bear market and what have you. And traditional markets do it all the time. You know, if you look at what happened recently with Buffett, like he exited and then crashed. But him and his mates having cups of tea or gin, whatever their drink of choice is, but they're in a position to manipulate the market, and everyone talks about after the fact. They're sitting on billions waiting for a correction, and then they acquire everything. And it's exactly what happens in crypto, and that's just not for me. You know, we are working, and I still love the technology, by the way. So our whole strategy using the whole system of the future of finance, which it is, just not under the current model. So we are looking at deploying, or basically having a coin, and we'll run that coin on a private chain, off chain, for our clients. That way, that it's not subject to a bear market or a bull market. It's subject to the community. It's subject to the way that currency is being used. So a brand, automotive company X, that deploys 20 million coins, and they value it at whatever they choose to value it at, it will always have that value. You know, and if they ever want to buy it back, they can. But when people are trading with that coin, it has a proper real world asset sort of pin to it, and it's not based on trends. It's based on the true value. So if you've got an automotive company that is, whether it's AO or whether it's Formula One, whether it's music, fashion, sport, travel, they all these automotive companies working and around that, but they might want to go, okay, well, a new coming out, a car going to market, targeting young females, all of a sudden they can deploy moments and experiences around that young demographic, give them an unfair advantage, giving them points, tokens that they can use in store to buy their movie tickets, to buy their travel tickets, to do all these things that they do. But it's always paired to a dollar for dollar mindset. And that's kind of how we see the future of how we want to use, I guess, coins. But yeah, and as for NFTs, I think that it's going to go in a million different directions. But the way that we've really landed is when we're clearly not calling them NFTs again. And for us, they're just collectibles, you know, and the way that we're using collectibles is dynamic. So we want them to evolve and live where people are and make a difference where they need to be. And it just happens that you might have a one-of-one, and we all know what that means. It's like the most valuable. So when you put it in the marketplace for one of our clients, what, you know, a cheeseburger might be worth 20 grand, but it's because it comes with a ute. You know, it's paired to something proper. It's not because someone that's you know, some degen or someone that's doxed is fucking, you know, pulling fucking numbers on some shitty X account. It's just exciting, but I'm just sick of, like, I got rugged 3 times in 2 years. I haven't been rugged in Web2 in 10 years. You know, like everyone talks about how successful and scalable and secure blockchain is, and it's simply not true. There's for everyone that's doing a good job, there's 2 people trying to crack the system. So yeah, that again, that's an uneducated frame of mind, but it's still got a long way to go.
Yeah, awesome, man. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. It's just like the whole trust factor with Web2 is just being there, because like it is like business, right? Business 101. It's just based on trust, you know. And it's a very scarce, you know, environment when it comes to trust these days. So like, you know, building connections and the experiences and moments, right? I feel like with what you're doing as well, that will again increase brand awareness as well as engagement with brands and stuff. And we can talk about that more in detail. I want to ask you more personal questions. So obviously you've been a founder. You built businesses pretty much for a while now. I'd love to hear, man, like, how did you start your entrepreneurship journey? And where did it all come to you to just be like, oh, yeah, this is what I want to do?
Well, for me, it started because when I was like a teenager, I threw, like, you know, when I was in year 10, throwing parties, and me and my mates cracked the code of doing poster runs to all the major schools, hang out with the coolest kids at train stations and getting them to promote our parties. So the whole idea of community building was really like, it was no different then to what it is now. It's just done differently. And it all had to do with, again, it's about connections and then understanding the culture. And my culture back then was all around R&B and hip hop and what have you. So we threw parties with all the kids that were fucking at home doing dance moves or singing into their tape recorders, and it just worked. And after that, I realized, hey, I really love entertainment, but putting on parties was a good thing. And I didn't take that as my cue for business, but I took it into, hey, I kind of understand culture. And then all my mates started making albums and doing a whole lot of things, and I got into fashion. So because all my mates were in and around music, and I started a fashion label, my mates ended up on MTV and on tour, and then you're working with Sony and Warner and Universal and all these record labels. So I was designing by day and partying by night with my mates on stage, and that became my world. And I quickly realized back then that it wasn't because I had the coolest jeans or the latest, hottest jacket. The people that I got along with that loved what I did supported me. And they loved it because I had something different that they could wear on a film clip or on stage. And that was the cycle. And the cycle was all about who you hang with and how you behave and how you support each other. But the impact was that they were impacting mainstream or subcultures. So if it was techno, or the coolest kids in techno running rave parties were wearing my shit, or the dudes wearing fucking lycra at nightclubs fucking with whistles. You know what I mean? It didn't matter what music they did. It mattered that I was a dude designing shit for them that made them look different. And that's the principles that I've applied all the way through. And then through doing that, what I was learning in my early 20s, it was all about how you create your own category. So if you create your own category, you can stand out. It's risky, but if you back yourself and you work hard enough, and you have the right people around you, you have impact. And that's kind of how I then went from fashion to, directing to producing to then becoming, I guess, what people call an entrepreneur.
Awesome. Yeah. One thing you said, man, it's just being different, right? And a lot of the time, like, especially when you're, growing up and you're finding your feet, that difference is something that you find throughout your years, and making stupid mistakes, doing all these different things, hanging out with the wrong crowd and stuff, or even just realizing that there is no like one fit mold for everything. It's just like you just realize that. And I feel like once you are different and you realize that difference within yourself, that's authenticity. And then you can truly come out and, create and do all these amazing things. And the thing I love about you, man, is like you transition all the way from like fashion and like parties and all that. And then it's, become to where you are right now. Right. And obviously with that experience, MTV and stuff, it's like you get to, it's not like it's just a one path, like, where it's just like a normal system thing, but everyone has their own way to find out what works for them, like through business and through life and through everything. So that's what I love about you, man. It's just like, you've obviously you've got like SWiiFT and you've got PixelBoss, but like that came from all that fashion, from being different, from your values as well. So I love to maybe just hear, man, like, what are your top 5 values in life that you stand by?
I think I would know. I don't know if I'll get to giving you the top 5, but ultimately, I think the number one value is integrity.
Integrity.
Like, and if you can, if you can stand by what you want to create, and then ultimately, if you do something with, I suppose probably a better word is ethics. Like a lot of people will fight a good fight and win and at any cost. And I find that is a really toxic energy. And I always really more fight to win, but I'll do whatever it takes, but not at the expense of someone else. You know, I've had, I'd say 40 people work at PixelBoss in the last 3 years that I've paid money to and deleted their files, not because they were wrong or they were idiots or they were unethical or they weren't any of those things. They weren't on my path, on the journey I was heading to. And quite often you get people like that, like, oh, you didn't do something I wanted, I'm not going to pay you. And they don't get paid. Like I can look at you in the eye and anyone I've employed or contracted, I've paid whether I've liked it or not, because I don't ever want to look behind my shoulder at the day that something happens with that. But you did this, and you're like, oh, actually, yeah, that, and then it's just called excuses. Like ultimately, you've got to own your shit, and if you don't commission the right person to do the right job, and you let it go down the path where they're protecting an invoice and you can't claim that, then you've got to kind of be able to sort of wash that together. That didn't make a lot of sense, but back to your question of what are my top values, I think it's just about being authentic, and it's all about you know, just working hard to what you want to achieve. But yeah, so again, it's an awkward question for me because it's not how I think, so I can't give you a shopping list of things, but ultimately I think yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, all good, man, all good. It's just like if it's just one, and I feel like that encompasses everything, like everything else starts to follow as well. So like, you know, the thing about integrity, man, it's just like a lot of the time people feel as though like, oh, if you're calling them up on something, right, that's not being integrate, you know, being truthful, being honest, but that's how you operate, right? And sometimes people feel like that's an attack, and then you're like, oh, like, you know, I'm being attacked here, but like I'm actually helping you see that, you know, that's not that. I'm actually trying to help you in being honest, right? So like for you, you know, having that as a value, it's really beautiful, because like in business, like you need to have that integrity. No one's going to do business with you if you don't have that integrity. So like that's like the pillar of everything, right? So I love that,
Yeah,
man.
I mean, to that,
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I'm most proud of is you can throw anything at me in the world, and everything. I always use the term, everything's one call away. You know, I've been able to achieve that in running businesses for 30 years and basically not shitting in your own backyard. When you can fight a good fight, do your best, respect people, work really hard, and people can, you can't fake that. So whether it be anything to do with product development, whether it be tech, whether it be fashion, whether it be travel, whether it be food, whether it be any industry whatsoever, I can always think of someone really fucking powerful or that I respect that I can ring. And if they don't pick up the phone in 3, it's because they're in a meeting. And 99% of the time, they pick up the phone. And that's success to me. That's worth more than any fucking check you can write.
100%, man. Yeah, that's the true value of success right there. Like that, being able to call someone, and then even though they're busy, they know that you're on top of their mind and they'll call you back. Like that's the power of connections, right? So yeah, you mentioned 30 years. Maybe we'll touch on like your previous experience. Like maybe just name one experience that was one of the defining moments that really shaped like Ivan. I'd love to hear that, man. Like, what was that one thing? Because I know you've done a lot of things with like MTV and stuff, but like, what was the one experience throughout 30 years in business that has shaped you to how you are today?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the biggest thing was at age 25, I sold my first fashion company to a public company, and sitting on a public board at 25, I was pretty uncomfortable. I didn't have the maturity, I didn't have the business experience, but I had the brand that they wanted, and that was basically the company that owned Sanity. So if you think back all those years ago, it's when music was a thing at retail, they were opening up multiple stores every week for a long time. They had hundreds and hundreds of stores, and they looked at what I was doing in fashion, and they're like, well, you've a really unique position you've built this whole music fashion thing, and we think the future of retail could be a music fashion play. And it didn't work out because I left after 6 months, because I felt bullied, I felt disrespected, and I felt like all these things went wrong. And I can tell you why, but the truth is I didn't have the maturity. If I was a little bit older and a little bit wiser, everyone else in that circle at the time would anywhere like are worth like 100 to hundreds of millions of dollars. It was this club of people that just knew exactly how retail worked, and they've killed it in so many categories ever since. And I missed that boat because I didn't have the smarts about me. But it taught me a lot as well. But you know, over time, I kind of then evolved my agency side and then continued back in fashion projects. But all of those things that I worked on in the first 20 years really laid the foundation on how I was working across culture. And that's what influences everything. You know, so I'm really grateful that I understood the nuances of subculture, whether it be through music, fashion, or in later years through digital. And when I say now, sorry, my age, I'm over 50, but you know, when I started Department of the Future, which is my Web2 company, you know, I started an online music show, and we did a ton of shit. We won awards, we broke like records, we did docos, we made documentaries for Jimmy Barnes, we did like music tours. But it's only happened because we understood the whole digital transformation space back then. So that was kind of exciting at my age, being at that sort of, because YouTube was just starting out. I mean, now it's everything. But that was new to everyone, and I was kind of in that sort of wave of people adopting that technology.
Yeah, nice, man. Yeah, that's the stuff I love to hear. It's just like that moment where it was just like, okay, this has shaped me to who I am right now, right? And the thing is, it's like everyone has that, and that's what I want to highlight to anyone that's watching this. Is like everyone will have that moment for them, and like for you, that was your moment. That was your moment. You're like, okay, this is what has shaped me to where I am right now, and this has given me so much, and I'm so grateful for it. And you can always remember that. And why I say that is because like when it comes to, you know, anything that you're doing, you always have those stories to tell, right? And then people love those stories, and that's how, you know, connection comes. It comes from those stories, those experiences, those moments, right? For you, man, what excites you, bro? Like, what excites you to get up every day? I know you're a busy man. Like you just finished up a meeting just before coming onto this. But what excites you? Like, what was that one thing that excites you every single morning?
I think at the heart of everything, like being an entrepreneur to one side, I'm always, I think innovating is what excites me. Coming up with a new take on something, and basically thinking outside the square, and just really pushing the boundaries. So it's what led SWiiFT. You know, when we started working on SWiiFT, we came up. So PixelBoss, early days, and you were in some of those meetings, like. We ended up with, at the end of year one, we had 24 products. And then by the end of year one, we had a lockdown and started thinking, okay, let's reduce it to 8. And then we started looking at all these different 8 products we were going to take to market. And then eventually we ended up with one, which is SWiiFT. You know, and what excites me about doing that is that we've actually been able to, we're patent pending on SWiiFT on using a number of technologies, some of them that we've developed, and others that are already in market. But the fact that we've actually been able to disrupt in the space of data, which is the bit that was big eye-opener for me, because whether we are Web 1, 2, or 3, they're all data related. In my opinion, the most valuable asset class on planet Earth is data, because everything's governed by it. So when we started looking at that, a year ago, I'm like, and I said, all my mates that run companies or founders or people, clients, and I started asking them, do you know the difference between first, second, and third party data? And I kid you not one person knew. And if you know, you'd be the first. No one knows. No one knows between first, second, and third party data. And they're very basic principles. The biggest trend, and I've worked in agency land for over 20 years now, but in the last 10, the biggest trend was, we're data led. Everyone's very chest out, we're data led. And it's because they pay for market research. They know what Google, Meta, and the likes tell them. The algorithm's telling them who they're reaching and who they think is buying their product, but they don't understand their data sets. and that became that became an opportunity. So when we're working with and having meetings with 𝗟𝗶𝗺𝗶𝗁 and Murdoch and all these other big brands that they're in our inner circle, and these people are looking at me like I'm making shit up, and I'm known for making shit up, don't get me wrong, but I didn't make any of this up. And that became like a bit of a red flag for the industry and a green light for me to go, hey, there's the opportunity. How do we now start better understanding how people use their data, how they acquire their data, and where they're spending their money? And hence why then we filed for a trademark, and we got it. We're now, so basically our trademark is 𝗬𝗵𝗺𝗶𝗁𝗍, Zero Party Engagement Index, and our whole ecosystem is patent pending. But it all revolves around data, because that is all that we care about. Particularly, it's been coming for a long time, but cookies and tracking, all of that's becoming illegal almost globally. But every major brand has been living off that and breathing off that. All the digital agencies have been, that's the biggest currency.
Yes.
You can talk about coconut water, and then, you'll see it on your news feed for 3 days. It's like, seriously? It wasn't even me. and anyway, so long story short, innovating in the space of data has been my biggest focus this last 12 months, and all the features and functions that were built on top of that is the game changer.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. With data, there's power, right? So like with you, and like maybe I'll get you to explain the data, like the first, second, and third, so that people do have that awareness. Because like I feel like everyone's using social media platforms, or even platforms in general that are online. They don't know that there's these different types of data, and how the data is being used, and privacy, and etc. So maybe we can touch on that. But yeah, I think I'm part of a conference earlier this year, and it was just data driven. It was called the Data Marathon. A lot of data speakers, and everyone's just umming and ahhing about like, okay, this is the amazing thing about data. This is what we can do. This is the use cases, and some people had really, really valid use cases for the data. And yeah, that's where I feel like that is the currency, right? Attention is data, right? When you really look at it. So for you, man, like maybe just express like how would you explain first, second, third, even to enlighten me as well, man.
So the most common data set on planet Earth is third-party data, which is owned by a handful of people, which is Google, Meta, and a few other major platforms. You'd also get third-party data from a major retailer if you're a supplier, because I'll give you some stats on what it is, but they were not going to hand over the keys. So third-party data is basically, that the person lives in a certain area, and you may know their age, but you don't know who they are. So it's kind of like a gated data set, and it's why you must go back. So you'll go, okay, well, if you go buy money advertising on Google, they'll tell you 30 to 35-year-old females and males in Melbourne metropolitan. They've got the data, but they're giving you a third-party access to what that looks like. Or when you go and spend $100,000 or $2 million on broadcast or any other media, they come back to with the reach. They'll give you the reach, and they'll give you some stats, and they'll even talk to you about engagement, which is all a like and share. All of that is not the brands. It's all third-party data. So it's pretty useless, but it's what everyone's used to buying or being served. And then first-party data is, the person, their name, and most likely their email, and it might include a date of birth here or there. But that's first-party. You actually know the person a little bit, but the truth is, fuck all about them. They may have bought a jumper from you, but you don't know it was for their niece or for their uncle or their grandma, but they bought that jumper from you, but they profiled you as you bought a jumper. So it's better, but it's not that useful. But it's, in today's world, it's like amazing. In the last couple of years, everyone talks about first-party data because it just means that you're not depending on third-party platforms, but now you've got first-party data. But the question is, what do you do with that data? And I'll talk to that in a second. The most second-party data is exact as first, but it's owned by someone else. So say, for example, Athlete's Foot and Nike are doing a campaign, and Nike want to do an Athlete's Foot campaign. they'll basically get access to the data from Athlete's Foot, which is their first-party data, but Nike pay for the privilege, so that's second-party data. And there's different ways of looking at it, but it's basically someone else's data that you have access to or paying for. The one that almost no one knows about is the most valuable, and that's the zero-party data. Hence how we got our trademark, because people didn't even realize it was there. And it's actually quite a new data set that's been acknowledged. And look, I won't try to quote who came up with it and when, but I'm going to say it's under 20 years old. And it was done by a global research company. And basically the term came from fundamentally market research. So market research is when you pay KPMGs and PwCs and or even bigger research companies, they get paid crazy money to go and profile whether it be 22 or 62 or 12-year-olds on lollipops or race cars, it doesn't matter. But that's called first party data. And what I mean by that is when the person volunteers information. So the volunteer information makes it valuable because there's a massive chance they're opting into something that they care, like, or agree with, or whatever it may be. Whether they like or dislike, it's still their opinion directly to you. So that's loosely what zero-party data is. But the world today isn't governed to facilitate that, because when you're using third-party platforms, they will own a lot of zero-party data, but that's what makes them so valuable. And they don't give that up for anything. So when we did our trademark with 𝗬𝗵𝗺, with Zero Party Engagement Index, so we couldn't trademark zero party data because it was impossible. So then we came up with 𝗬𝗵𝗺 as our position. But then when you write it out, it leans into zero party data. But that's our data warehouse engine platform that we've built and will continue to build. But what we've decided and what we discovered was zero-party data is good, but we've now gone through and basically put a line in the sand, and we're basically epic data. So epic data for us is an evolving data set. So the more we interact with you, the smarter we get, the better your experience is. And our whole ecosystem is governed and built by that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, man. Like the way that you break it down, it's sort of like it makes sense in my head, like where data is evolving and transforming and like how we're actually using it. And I feel like that's a really valuable takeaway, like with what you just shared. It's just like how do you actually use zero party data, first party data, and translating that, right? So like it's gone from third to second to first, and then now it's zero, right? And then you've obviously, you know, revolutionized that or bringing that to the forefront in everyone's mind and talking to all these big brands about like, hey, do you actually have zero party data, or are you still getting it from Google or Facebook, etc.? So I feel like that that if you feel free to add anything, but like that's what I feel like. That's what I'm getting from this. And I feel like those that are listening as well, it's like if you understand where your data is coming from, you'll start to realize like how you can actually use it. Same with AI. Like AI, you know, there's a big buzz about it. You know, everyone's like, oh, AI this, AI that. But AI is a tool, just like with data, it's a tool. Like, how do you actually use it?
Yeah. So I guess I'll touch on AI in a second. From what I'm not even remotely a subject matter expert, but I've been using it for a while now. But the biggest problem we saw, and the opportunity that we saw with SWiiFT, was, again, through all these multinational global companies that we've been co-piloting and working with, was even when they have a shitload of really good data, meaning first-party data, in some cases the zero, which is the good stuff, but most of the third was useless. But regardless, there's kind of the way that the system is built now. Let's say you had a really healthy database of 400,000 people. You really have two key options as an organization. One is I know you, and I'm going to send you an EDM. That's called talking at someone, right? Or a text. You're talking at them. And then the only other thing that really happens in industry, it better informs your next message. Oh, we know they like chocolate chip cookies. Let's do a whole lot of TikToks around that. Or let's show them how to make the cookie. It's still talking at people, you know, and that was like the thing. We're like, hey, how do we start conversations? How do we build an ecosystem where you invite someone to not smell the cookie, taste the cookie, learn how to make it, but then give them the rails to start conversations.
Yeah.
And that became really interesting for us. So our whole ecosystem is built in and around conversations, and it is about being, relevant. And if you're not relevant, they're not going to opt in. And doesn't make them bad people. It just means they weren't interested in chocolate cookies, right? So anyway, there's lots of layers to the way that we've built SWiiFT, but that kind of just talks to, although you have data, doesn't mean that you can really use it to its full capacity with the current system in place. You're only ever governed by placing ads. So our whole premise with SWiiFT is don't make ads, make invitations, because an invitation is inviting you into a moment, into an experience. And if it interests you, like you can't tell, like if you had LeBron James like participating and it went to 90% of people, it went to people didn't even like basketball, they wouldn't even know who he is, they wouldn't care, right? Exactly. But if you understand your community and he's endorsing it and the people around endorsing it, the minute someone like LeBron James invites someone to, hey, one of you motherfuckers is going to jump on a plane and going to be courtside, he'll break the internet, right? But you go from at the moment, it happens on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and they get all the traffic, and then you get to the cloud. Oh, we got the highest viewership in the world. Like look at Ronaldo. Ronaldo breaks YouTube, and who wins? YouTube. You know, Ronaldo could in a heartbeat start a SWiiFT account tomorrow, do the exact same thing, and convert his $1 billion members into $1 billion by converting 1% of the fan base. So all of a sudden, he's got 100 million fans that will buy anything he sells, and he would grow that incrementally every week, every month, every year, and he'll be the next YouTube. But they're not wired that way, and they will be soon when we launch.
Awesome. Yeah, 100%. It's just like that. People aren't aware about who actually owns these platforms until you actually realize, like, do you actually have sovereignty of your own account, of your own platform, of your own brand, etc. So I love what you're doing, man. And maybe just share with the viewers, like obviously we've been talking about SWiiFT, the product. Maybe dig deep into more about like engagement side of things, the conversation side of things of SWiiFT. Like if you were to talk to someone who's like, oh, I don't know anything about SWiiFT, what would you say to them, man?
So with SWiiFT, basically the way it works is the minute you get, let's use like a band as an example. So Post Malone. So Post Malone's coming down under on an Aussie tour, and he goes, hey, like I fucking love fly fishing, and I love cooking, and I love my food, and I love this and I love that. And that's his passion, right? So what normally happens with someone like Post Malone, because he's so successful, his record label checks, and they get him to stand in front of a car or hold a product or drink he doesn't like, because they're trying to bank money, right? But when you're as famous as Post Malone and you control the narrative, he says all the things that he'll do no matter what, right? So that's him living his best life, right? So our whole premise is when someone like Post Malone goes, this is my dates, this is what I want to do in every state, and then all of a sudden, like Fred again turns around and goes, I'm going to be in Adelaide tomorrow, and one of you pricks is going to fucking come have breakfast with me, and then we're going to hit the tracks, right? All of a sudden, everyone in the country will go, I wish that was me, click and enter. Or whether it be backstage, or whether it's stringing a guitar and playing a song, whatever it may be. But all of a sudden, Post Malone uses traditional channels to broadcast that. There's a huge chance that you get on any number of news outlets because it's Post Malone. But you can only enter and you can only participate if you press click. So the minute you click and enter, you go from third-party data to first-party data. So Post Malone has a huge chance of maybe getting a few 100,000 people enter throughout his tour. Now Posty owns first-party data. He can now give them moments, experiences, limited edition, collabs, and that data set will be worth more than any song he can ever release. because he gets cents in the dollar for a stream. He can now charge a huge percentage in the dollar and make more money owning the data that he owns, doing shit he loves, right? And so the way it works with a wallet, and the thing that our patent's on is, like anyone, you can go start a digital wallet. Anyone can. We actually partnered with a company called 𝗬𝗂𝗿𝗲. Brian is phenomenal, and they do a stunning job. And we didn't want to make shit up. We wanted to go to the best. So they run our wallet. But what we've patented is how the wallet operates and how it works. So we've got a workflow on how we're using the wallet that's first time in the world that's been used in that manner. And it's basically a dynamic asset. So at the moment, let's say you go to a concert or you buy some, at the night market buying noodles, or you're at a supermarket and you have a receipt or a voucher or a gift card, we've got it as an evolving asset. So whether you participated or didn't participate, we convert your receipt or your voucher into a collectible, right? But you don't know until we release the full amount if you've got the one of one. Now it goes back into NFT land. You might have an open edition, you might have a one of one, or you might have a one of whatever, but it comes with this string of benefits, right? So you might have like this cheeseburger one of one that comes with any number of crazy shit that you don't like. You put it on the marketplace and someone gives you $5 grand for a cheeseburger fucking collectible. And that's a little bit of look under the hood. There's a lot more tech and a lot more sort of strategy behind it, which I don't want to spill all of our beans. We're not even launched yet. But the minute you walk into it, there's the hook and enter. So that what I'm talking to there is, you love what it is, whether the subject matter is music or travel or sport or fashion or whatever it may be, you enter, you're now part of a community. And then our next big thing is called adventures. So it's what I refer to as gamifying life. So although it's a drink, that drink, see, we all drink, for example, water, but your vibe, if the water campaign is music, fashion, sport, travel, and you gravitate to travel, and I clearly gravitate to food, we all have different passion points. But through the adventures, you now start to segment behavior and likes and dislikes. And the natural evolution is the next thing you get sent is travel related and something else. I'll get food related and something else. And that's how our algorithm works. And then that's all being picked up by our data warehouse in the back end. But it goes straight to your phone. We don't send you a text. We don't send you an email. It's a notification. And what you'll start seeing in the next 6 to 12 months is notifications are going to be the next media wave. And we're going to be a huge part of that, because at the moment, when you get a pin notification, it's a little text message. It's not technology that we've invented, but it's technology that we're using differently. So you'll be able to get like really cool graphics designs as a notification. I'll actually be able to send you a video file through a notification, whether it be exclusive or behind the scenes or whatever it may be. Also through a notification, opt in and out, whether you want that thing or don't want that thing. But it's going to get really fun. That's kind of what we're playing with at the moment.
Awesome. Yeah, like that, the whole thing with the videos and the notification, I feel like that's going to be like very engaging, because like right now it's just text, and you just get a text and it's just another notification. Oh, someone sent me this message. Oh, I got this notification on Instagram, etc. But like it'll be fun, like, and that's what I love about it. It's just like there's fun involved. So this is a question for you, Ivan, like in regards to like where you are with SWiiFT and obviously PixelBoss, and you're developing patents and stuff, like how can the audience actually help you? Like how can we get the audience to help you with where you are in your journey?
At the moment, I think it's just really more as we go to market. Like, so we officially going to launch our first campaign this coming Monday, and I'll share some of that in the next few weeks. The one thing I've been doing for a while is more building in silence. There's a lot of people that beat the drum and want to be the hero, and I've been sharing some videos on what we're building as more of as a paper trail. It's more about legacy of what we're building, how we're building it. And quite often it's nice when I'm in meetings and people quote me in a video that I launched 3-4 weeks ago. And they go, when you said this, and you're like, and that's just like warms my heart, because it's affirmation that I've published something that actually strung a chord with a strong decision maker. But in terms of the help component, I think it's going to be more about being, you know, if someone comes across a campaign that we launch or we're building, and they don't like something or don't agree with something, like people hate negative feedback, whereas I think for us it's probably even better than good feedback, because it's all well and good that people pat you on the back, but if someone finds a flaw or finds a better solution, that's fucking magic. It only makes us better.
Exactly. Yes.
And there'll be a moment in the near future when we're going to open up you know, again, and you were there last year when we were looking about doing DAOs. And, you know, and for people that don't know what a DAO is, it's kind of basically a community project that people contribute to. And we're going to still use that mindset. But we will start, like, for example, I won't mention names, but we're already really far down the path with, so SWiiFT is our infrastructure, our platform, and that's kind of anything we want to do and build on top of. But we've already got our first SWiiFT vehicle going, and that's SWiiFT Music. And very soon we'll have SWiiFT Health, SWiiFT Automotive, etc., etc. So, you know, if someone understands what we're doing and has some credentials and runs on the board and want to go, hey, I want to, you know, get behind SWiiFT, you know, retail or SWiiFT hospital, you know, whether it be in bars or club, whatever. Like, our tech is an enabler for what people do. So we didn't invent anything other than something that creates a direct relationship with the consumer. That's our clever trick. But we're not here saying, hey, we want to change you. No, we want to change how you connect. That's all we're doing. Therefore, more valuable and more rewarding to the consumer, the fan, the member, whatever you want to call them. There's all the white noise is gone, and it's only upside. The brand gets cut through the noise, and the profits go up, and their engagement goes up. It's a beautiful thing.
Yep, 100%. That when you're helping people make money and, you know, giving more value to people, I think that's an easy sell, right? Last question. How can people find you, man, and get in contact with you about SWiiFT, about you, get to know more about your story, etc.? Like, where can they find you, man?
Well, I'm sure I want to be found. I'm joking. Well, no, I mean, I'm very, very present on LinkedIn. That's kind of my platform of choice. So yeah, if anyone wants to like send me a DM on, and I'm always happy to help people. Just don't sell me shit. You know, I don't want someone that's going to come in and go, oh, I do this really well. I'm like, that's great, dude. Like, fucking, I got enough problems. Like, so collaborating, sure. You know, and for the record, like, if people go to my LinkedIn and say I've got a venture fund, yes, it's true, but we don't invest in anything anymore. My entire energy and focus and flow is all on PixelBoss and SWiiFT. So over the last few years, we've invested in a number of really interesting, in agriculture, in healthcare. We own clinics, we own a bunch of things, but I'm not going to be doing anything for at least the next 5 to 10 years. I've got a 10-year exit with this, and I want it to have all of my energy. So if you want to do anything in and around engagement, or you've got a business or a product that might need it, let's go. Let's collaborate. If we can help, then we will. If you just need an opinion, I'm happy to give that too. But other than that, yeah.
Beautiful, bro. Yeah. Well, and one piece of advice that you'll leave with the viewers, man.
Oh, mate.
There's probably like heaps.
I just think a lot of people are weak as fuck. Like, you know, if you get knocked down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and they go, "This is not for me," it's like then you never really set out to achieve. Like, if if you go and you get knocked down and then you give up, then that wasn't for you. Doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that that wasn't for you. But my hope and dream for you is that you find the one thing that keeps you up at night, that you're buzzing about, the one thing that keeps you up at night, that even 1,000 no's keeps you going. And that's been me with SWiiFT. Like, dozens of people that have been in around me with this, and I'm in the hundreds deep of people and in the hundreds of thousands deep on deploying capital to build this. And I honestly think most people would have given up 2 years ago, and I'm still bootstrapped, completely fucking like taking that risk. And I'm on deck number 580. We've built our product that many times, it's not funny. We've binned the product that many times, it's not funny. It's not that our product was shit, it's just that it wasn't where we wanted to end up. So I was very comfortable with starting again. I was very comfortable in being wrong. I was being comfortable at being told that I was an idiot. I was very comfortable with everything anyone said. The biggest shift for us in the last 6 months was when we were being compared to a couple of big brands in market. And I was fucking furious. And I'm like, why? And then I actually went to their website. I go, oh, okay, we're saying similar things. I'm like, but we do something completely different.
Yes.
So all I did, I grabbed those modules and I binned them. My tech stack didn't change, but my language, my position changed completely. Yes. And I'm like, okay, now I can breathe. And we end up being unique to us. But that's tough. That's really, really tough. And it takes a lot of guts and it takes a lot of time and energy. And I'm not going to lie, I've cried more in the last year than I have in 10 years. But they'll never tears of joy, let me tell you. They'll tears of fucking anger and stress. But, here I am.
Yeah, I get it, man. I get the whole journey of, the ups and downs of building something that you're really passionate about and putting it out to the world. And yeah, just I think the only time that you fail is when you give up. And I feel like those are beautiful words to leave everyone with. So thank you again, Ivan, for jumping on and having this flow with me, man. It's awesome to hear what you're working on. You yourself is an amazing person, an amazing contact. And I know that for those that are listening to this and are going to actually watch this as well, I feel like you'll get a lot of value through, what we've shared, and also to hear more about what Ivan does with SWiiFT, and even myself, as an entrepreneur interviewing other founders in the space to, just to get it out to the world. Like, you actually have something that's there, and that's what makes you different. So embrace the difference. And thank you again, Ivan.
For sure. And look, the one last thing, and again, if you're based in Melbourne or coming through Melbourne, we do have at PixelBoss, we started a club, and we don't run the big events we used to because they're a lot of hard work, but the space is there, and we've got a handful of people that we build with, that we work with, that use the space. So if you are on the up or you work at an organization and you need support, it's there. It's literally just ring the bell and come in, and more often than not, it's at no cost. And if you need support and there is resources required, then we'll either point in the right direction or help you. But yeah, so whether you need a space or whether you need to make content or production, it's just there, and it's nice. And quite often the art of giving is the most rewarding because you don't know where that leads. So more than happy to sort of open the door in that regard.
Beautiful. Thanks, Ivan. Thanks everyone for watching. And we'll end it here. Thank you, guys.
All right, but have a good night and good morning wherever you are.